Good morning everyone and welcome to Sandsend. Back on the Cleveland Way. It's about 7:30 in the morning and there's still quite a bit of fog in the air. So I've got to walk to Whitby now. In that direction, just can't see it through the fog. But the tide should be going out, I believe. So I could walk along the beach, but there's a bit of a headland, so I'm going to walk along the footpath by the road to get me to Whitby. So I'm not expecting a big long hike today, but hopefully I should see some pretty cool things. So let's head on up off the beach and start walking to Whitby. So this is A174 road. It's a coastal road that runs between lots of the villages I've been walking past. Just going past that piece of headland I saw, which is where the Whitby Golf Club is located. So I guess a lot of balls get lost in the sea. Not sure about that. Could there have been a train track going across this at one point? Yeah, I could very well imagine there being a train going across this gap. I can just see Whitby harbour over there in the fog. Lots and lots of little beach houses that obviously, the tide being in, you can't see any of the beach. So this big arch here is the lower jawbone of a bowhead whale. Now Whitby itself was a whaling town, one of the most proficient whaling towns in Britain, but that's a gift from Alaska. I'm not sure what the story behind that is. Here is Captain Cook. He's covering a bit of bird waste, but look at his little monument. Captain Cook, Royal Navy, 1728, 1779. Yeah, so it's about his voyages of exploration, involved in the presence of the High Commissions of Australia and New Zealand in 1968, the bicentenary of his first voyage. So this one's from New Zealand in 1984. People of Canada, 150th anniversary of the birth of Captain James Cook, and this plaque is from Australia, from discovering the east coast of Australia by a European, and that's in 1970. So it's quite a Commonwealth kind of monument. It's got the joint one from Australia and New Zealand, and then Australia and New Zealand have one each, and then there's one from Canada. When he helped, I think it was the Siege of Quebec and the Battle of Plains of Abraham, General Wolfe. I think it was Captain Cook's maps. That was one of the reasons that military expedition was victorious. Okay, so here is Whitby. We'll walk down onto this point and take a look back. Over here is either the church or the Abbey up on that headland there. See some boats in. And that is that swing bridge that allows ships to pass. And this kind of hairpin bend road is the Khyber Pass. Decided to just take a quick walk out into the edge of the harbour. This is the River Esk, which is just meeting the sea. Under one of the lighthouses. What did it say? Colonel Chomley, Lord of the Manor of Whitby. So it's built by a committee in AD MD 1831. Why couldn't they just write 1831? Gosh. Let's just walk out to the end of the pier and then we'll come back in. Well, I've just had a full English breakfast in the Skipper's Cafe just there. I'm about to head up out of Whitby, just looking at the Whitby jet. Kind of a coal in that it's plants and trees that have been trapped under ocean layer from the Jurassic period, but it polishes to a really high shine and can be used to make jewellery. Queen Victoria made it one of her official mourning items when the consort Prince Albert died, and it was quite fashionable for a few decades. Not so much anymore, but you can still get it here in Whitby. Going over the swing bridge. Chocolatier, fudge and toffee maker. This just here is the start of 199 steps to the top. So just shy of 200. 1, 2, oh, I've given up. 3, 4, I can't do it. 5, 6, I'm giving up, going home. This is the St Mary Church. Apparently it's got a really nice interior. I don't know if they allow filming in it. It looks closed anyway right now. Well, the church doesn't open for another 20 minutes. So I want to see something a bit older. It's an abbey. I don't know exactly when this one was founded. Hopefully I'll find out in a little bit. But the reason a lot of the old abbeys in England are in disrepair pretty much goes back to Henry VIII and the Protestant Reformation. So Henry VIII was married to Catherine of Aragon, couldn't divorce her, Pope wouldn't let him, so he became the head of the Church of England. The Act of Supremacy gave Henry VIII power to become the head of the Church of this new Church of England, a Protestant church. So they then passed, what was it called? The Dissolution of the Monasteries Act, which allowed Henry VIII to confiscate the church lands, its property, dissolve them, but then take up some of the functions and supposedly allow the members to have somewhere to live. But what it was really for was to fund wars. When Henry divorced Catherine of Aragon, Charles V was quite annoyed with him. But then Catherine of Aragon died, so it didn't really matter much anymore, which allowed Henry VIII and Charles V to kind of make an alliance against the French. So that allowed Henry VIII to land in France, fund his armies, and Charles V wanted him to march on Paris. He wouldn't. Charles V made peace with France separately, so Henry VIII was stuck fighting France by himself, thanks to Charles V. So the French wouldn't make peace. They tried to invade England, didn't make it, and that war kind of ended. So that's what some of these monasteries would have been dissolved for. Seemingly absolutely pointless wars in the continent. So this is the ruin of the Abbey. It's up here on the Whitby headlands. A lot of the stone was taken to build the houses. Quite a lot of it is also eroded. If I show you that was once a bird, but it has eroded, so you can't really tell what it was. You can just kind of see these great pillars here stretching all the way up, and then you can understand that we're missing essentially an entire side of this building. It does date further back than the 11th century. St Hilda, around the 600s, is said to have built a monastery for monks and nuns when she was out here, but that probably didn't survive the Viking Age, because on the east coast of England, all these monasteries and abbeys, that was quite an easy target for the Scandinavian Vikings to come over and raid. These monasteries and abbeys, they were quite rich. So when Henry VIII and the dissolution of the Monastery Act started taking land from them and their wealth, it really did allow the country to fund wars. I wonder if it was completely mirrored. For example, this side, you can just see the beginning of the arch, which probably matches that side, and so up here there'd be one of these windows. Can you really see how much of this is actually missing? Now, the monks that were here were Benedictine monks, which meant they would have been all dressed in black, and they would have followed the rules of Saint Benedict, who founded the Monte Cassino monastery in Italy, and he kind of laid out the rules of what he thought a monastery life should be like, with the abbot as the head, and he would say exactly what they should be doing, praying 7 times during the day, 1 time at night, when they should be resting, even things like what they should be eating, no meat at all. They'd be down to 1 meal a day during the winter, those sorts of fasting. So it was very clearly laid out what life would have been like for these people, exactly what they'd be doing during the day. And there's a bit of some roof remaining. That's quite wonderful. So it's time to leave Whitby behind, head on down the coast, following Cleveland way. Okay, heading down the highly eroded cliffs now. Yeah, they really are quite on the edge. So I'm leaving the view of Saltwick Nab and heading on through the Holly Home Park now. This must be the Whitby signal station. Coast is beautiful just here, but it's very up and down with the hills. Not managed to get on a really nice flat section yet to travel along. It's been up and down these kind of stairs that have been made into the hills. Well, I've made it to Robin Hood's Bay, I think. I've done about 6.5 miles or so in 2 hours, so I was moving pretty good. I don't usually move that fast, and I've got a backpack on. Not sure where to go now. I'm kind of in a town again. The Cleveland Way keeps doing this to me. Takes me to a town and then kind of leaves me a bit lost. I think I'm going to finish it here at Robin Hood's Bay and make my way back to Whitby. Apparently there's a bus running between the two places, so it seems like a good place as any to start heading back. So I managed to walk all the way from Whitby to Sandsend, where the sand ends or begins. So yeah, it's a big difference now the tide is out. Went out quite far. So it was breaking along the beach and the coast this morning. Well, I'm back in my car here at Sandsend. I had a really nice day. Only walked maybe 10 miles along the Cleveland Way, and then just a couple of miles on the way back. But it's been really nice. I got to see Whitby Abbey. Really enjoyed it up there, and I had a really nice walk along the cliffs. Right, so I need to get home, but before I go, I'd just like to thank everyone for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.